right, greetings. Welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 114, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studios, downtown Wheeling, here on a chilly winter day, as we are now out of the holiday season and into the stretch run for football, into the meat of basketball season. Lots going on. It's been a while since we've been with you, so hopefully you had a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year, and best wishes to everybody out there for 2025. Hopefully we can start it off by making you some cash. That is the goal, as always, here on Bettor's Last Stand, and it's good to be back with you here. We've been fighting off some ailments, so apologies for the sudden cough outburst. We're getting better, but we're not quite there yet. It's been a post-holiday mess for many of us down here at the Watchdog. But nonetheless, good to be back here with you. Show number 114. And we got lots to talk about today. So, since we were last here on, I believe, the week of the 19th of December, so the week before Christmas, we've done all right. We've been posting the plays on BLS_PRP. You can always get those there when we don't have shows, or the time-sensitive plays that maybe don't make it onto the show, or the event kicks off before the show airs, that kind of stuff. So BLS_PRP, follow those there. We are up 50-plus units here since 12/19. That's the 19th of December 2024. We're up 50.20 units. So a very strong few weeks here for us. We're not as happy as I want to be with the college football and the bowl games, but those things were tough. We've had some decent opinions. We've also had some bad ones, and we're always very transparent here. We're going to tell you when we're wrong, and we're going to tell you, not tell you when we're right. We'll allude to it, but we're not one of these people that are going to say, our group is not the kind of guys that are going to say, I told you so, occasionally if it motivates us. But nonetheless, up 50-plus units over the last several weeks here, as we are now into the second week of January. We were 22-22 in our bowl game selections, our bowl game of the year. Now, we gave this one out on the show way back, right when the bowls were announced. I went down, 7, 8, 9 games maybe that looking way down the line that I liked a lot, and not one game stood out more than Miami and Iowa State over. That posted total, I believe, on the show, we gave it out. It was 55.5. Well, it ends up getting bet up to around 61 maybe when it closed, depending on where you got it at. And that game was a cigar smoker from the very start. That's the way a 10-star, as Coach likes to say, that's how a 10-star should be. That's how a 10-star should win. Well, that's how it won. Our bowl game of the year, our 10-star bowl game of the year, Miami and Iowa State over 55.5, cashed easy. Now, Miami was, a team that comes in with a really bad defense. I couldn't understand the whole. It was very bizarre to me that was only 55. They had no defense. They had Cam Ward. Cam Ward played a half. The game was over at halftime. You had the game over the total at halftime. It was an absolute cigar smoker, and Miami gets the job done as far as getting it over. Now, they didn't win the game, so that was a problem. They definitely did not come through in that regard, but it was our bowl game of the year for a reason, and it cashed, and we were happy to have cashed it in. So a good one there. Miami and Iowa State over the total. Hopefully you were on that one. NFL, we've been very, very good here over the last few weeks. Strange, but we are performing at a very high percentage. It's actually quite scary. 31-17 since our last show. That's 65% winners. Outstanding run there. College hoops just 13-16, so we're not very good yet there. Still trying to find our form in college basketball. We've given out not too many plays there. Soccer-wise, EPL, again, red hot there, 64% since our last show, 32-16-1. We're up over 28 units in English Premier League soccer. We also gave out a couple, I think I gave one in maybe Italy and Spain a couple times. And the EPL, though, is where things have gone pretty well for us. So 32-16-1, 64% there. NFL, 65% at 31-17 since the mid part of December, right before Christmas. NFL futures, I don't like to brag, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that gave you a 78 win percentage on over 20 NFL future plays. We went 18-5 on those, 78%. That is outstanding. We finished the season. We had graded some up to this point, and I had been giving you the rundown of where we stood with those. 7-1 run to end the season. That's absolutely wonderful. Anybody would take that. That is alarmingly good. 18-5 on the season in our NFL futures, 78%. So very, very proud of that number for sure. So things have been going pretty well for us here over the last few weeks. Hopefully we can keep it going here when we have the shows regularly and put them back on the watchdog here now that the holidays are over. So hopefully you tune in on Friday evenings on the Watchdog Network and listen to a portion of this program. We appreciate all the listeners and all the feedback that we get from Bettor's Last Stand listeners. All right, so we talked about the good things, 50-plus units, 65% in the NFL, 64% in the EPL, 78% on NFL futures, bowl game of the year, 10-star cashes. Well, now it's time to talk about things that aren't good, like the NBA. The ratings the lowest of all time. Christmas Day, not very good. NFL's kind of taking some of their bacon. I'm not real upset about it. So, and NBA, we'll talk a little bit about it when we get closer to spring, once these playoff series are set. I'll have some opinions on those, but really, really hard product to watch. I will say the Thunder, maybe the Thunder might win the most games of anybody this year. They could win 70 games, so maybe that's something worth taking a peek at. They take on the Cavaliers here this week, so that should be a good matchup, I believe, Wednesday night. It's tonight, I guess. Yeah, so good matchup there, but I'm not going to give you a whole lot in the NBA. Conference play in full swing here in college basketball. Big 12, Big 10, SEC all look pretty strong. Boy, the ACC is not very good. Duke, all right. Got some talent for sure there, but rest of the ACC, very, very questionable. We'll talk more college basketball here once football winds down, but I'm starting to get into the groove here of the conference games. We got regular conference play pretty much every night now, so we're starting to get used to seeing who's hot, who's not, who's playing well, who's playing. One area that I do want to point out, one angle that I think is exceptional when it hit 2 times last night, college basketball, is teams off massive wins. So you had Kentucky coming off a really big win against Florida in a really, really high-scoring game. And then you had Tennessee obviously coming off a very nice win, and they've done nothing but win. They were undefeated, and they were going on the road to Florida, and they were ripe for the taking. You had Georgia at home hosting Kentucky off a huge win, and you had Florida off of a tough loss home hosting Tennessee. Both of them get there relatively easy. Florida wins a game by 30. Tennessee just had nothing. So angles like that where you're seeing teams. It also applied last week with Kansas, who actually had a bad defeat at the hands of WVU and then came out and absolutely annihilated UCF on the road on Sunday. So be aware of those spots. That spot handicapping in college basketball, nothing better from an angle perspective in my mind right now. I've not seen stronger trends than that. They seem to carry more water, so to speak, than any of the other trends out there. And we'll talk more about those here. And you can always check out my college basketball plays, BLS_PRP. I'll have weekend plays for you, probably Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, each and every weekend. So not focusing a ton on college basketball yet, but enough to keep our eye on it and getting ready for the stretch run of that once we conclude with football season, which I can't say how happy I'll be when that is all over with. MLB update, free agents still out there. You saw Corbin Burns gone from the Orioles. That's a big loss, but they brought in Charlie Morton. That'll solve things. Some of these teams just baffle me. You got all this incredible young talent, and you're not doing anything to put them over the top. Not good for Baltimore. Not been a good offseason for them. I am very, very concerned about them. They may waste this window, and that is nutting-esque, so to speak. Very, very, very disappointed to see what they've done so far, letting Burns go and replacing him with a much meleaguered and old Charlie Morton, who would have been a nice signing about 6 years ago, but not good for the Orioles. The Giants land Justin Verlander the other day, so not that moves the needle or not. MLB win totals are out, so we have some of those to talk about. We'll talk about those maybe the next show here once college football is pretty much put to bed, NFL winding down. We'll get into the win totals, start talking about some teams that could be on the radar that maybe are overs and unders. We gave out some of those last year and did okay, so we'll try that again. So talk a little baseball a little bit more extensively next week, but win totals are out at several books, so be on the lookout for those. Look at the A's win total when you see that one. And then the Pirates and the White Sox, maybe the most pathetic organization in sports other than the Pirates. White Sox win total in the 50s, I believe. So just outrageous. Golf back this week, starting to kick up our Western swing. We're at Waialae Country Club in Honolulu. I've actually been to this course before. Beautiful, beautiful place. And Sony Open this week. So Matsuyama wins last week in impressive fashion. A couple guys, I'm not really into golf swing of things yet, so to speak. Swing, there you go. Golf and swing. Okay. So I didn't even expect to say that, but it came out, synonymous with golf. Talking about swings, talking about golf. So I had a few guys that I thought were worth keeping an eye on tonight. Tonight basically. Tomorrow night, really. You can get this pretty late because it's in Hawaii. But I thought Emiliano Grillo at 97-1 was worth a look. Keegan Bradley, who finished second here last year, 25-1, and Russell Henley, 20-1. He also played well here last year. Not a great field. Matsuyama the favorite, but he's not a kind of guy that probably wins back-to-back weeks. I usually don't play guys like him on a back-to-back, so he may perform well, but it's a little bit early for golf, but we will have our golf plays up at BLS_PRP as always. So Emiliano Grillo, Keegan Bradley, and Russell Henley are who I'm looking at this week. Just a couple guys that kind of just whet the appetite a little bit, get you a little appetizer before we get into the meat of the golf card and we start getting all the players in there. There's not a great field here in Honolulu, but it's good to have golf back. It's been a nice break, and we'll focus on it in the coming weeks, no doubt about it. Hockey, ECHL and NHL in full swing, of course. NHL period data as we are going, darn near towards midway point of the season. First period overs right now. These trends have leveled off a little bit on the first periods. Washington, 27-12 to the over. That's over 1.5 goals. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Buffalo Sabres, 25-15, 8-2 in their last 10 in the first period to the over. And the Florida Panthers, 25-15 in the first period over, and 5-5 in their last 10. Second period overs, Florida, 30-10, 6-4 in their last 10. Columbus Blue Jackets 29-11, 8-2 in their last 10. So some strong ones here in the second periods. San Jose 30-12 on the season in the second period to the over, and 8-2 in their last 10. Third period is where I've been finding the most value. And you also have the opportunity to bet the third period as the highest scoring period in these games. You can get nice plus prices on those every single night on every single game. Third period overs, Anaheim, the Ducks, 33-6 on a 10-0 run right now. Columbus Blue Jackets, 32-8, 7-3 run to the over in the third period. Vegas Golden Knights, 31-8, a 9-1 in their last 10 third period overs. Montreal, 31-8, 6-4 in their last 10. Winnipeg, 32-9, 10 straight overs in the third period for the Winnipeg Jets. And then our local market, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins, 32-9 to the over in the third period. And once again, last night it gets there, 8-2 run to the over for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You can find a lot of value on these period markets. I think that's kind of where you want to go. You're seeing massive money lines on some of these teams. There's a lot of discrepancies there. I don't trust these betting the teams on the money lines, laying $2.50 and $3. It's outrageous. I think team totals is also another area. If you like Toronto or Edmonton or somebody that's kind of powerful, Winnipeg, whatever. And you say, man, I don't want to lay 265 or even 190. I don't want to lay that. So look at the goals. Look at the team total goals. If you look through the scoring and the teams who defend well and teams who give up a lot of goals, and if they're matching up with somebody who's in the middle of the pack or down low, and you can get the Oilers at over 3.5 goals at -140. That's better than playing them on the money line at -190, because chances are they'll win a game. They're probably going to score 3 or 4 goals. So look at those markets. You can always find an alternative right now in hockey and baseball especially, and you can do it to some extent in football and basketball, but they're just the way they're scored, it's just a little bit different. But when scoring's at a premium like in baseball and hockey, you can find creative ways to beat the money line pricing, and team totals are one of those. Period markets are another one of those. All right, ECHL. Let's shift it close to home and before we end this segment. ECHL, of course, the Nailers first place in the North Division, 47 points. They're in a 3-way battle right now with themselves, Trois-Rivières, which is 3 rivers in French, out of Quebec, and Norfolk. So you got the team in Norfolk, you got the Trois-Rivières, and you got the Nailers, all playing very good hockey right now. It seems like a 3-car breakaway, to use a NASCAR analogy. We'll be talking racing here in the coming months. But 3-car breakaway to top of the North Division right now. The Nailers at Indy tonight and Friday before returning home for Star Wars night tomorrow. That's Saturday. So check out Star Wars night. Should be a packed house down at Westbank Arena as they take on the Worcester Railers. So you got the Worcester Mass coming down here for 2 on Saturday and Sunday at Westbank Arena, 7:10 on Saturday, and on Sunday a 4:10 puck drop. So best wishes to the Nailers. We have our Nailing It Down segment right on these airways at the Watchdog each and every Friday afternoon. Most of the time, our man Isaac Basinger is the one taking us coming down and giving us the insight to the Nailers team and how things are going for them. And we appreciate everything that Isaac does for us and, of course, everybody over at the Nailers for what they do for each and every one of us here in the Wheeling community. It's really fun to talk Nailers hockey, and we really, really love that. We're going to take a quick break here. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 114. We'll come back, talk all things football. It's been a few weeks. We got college football playoffs, we got NFL playoffs, and we got the Premier League. Coming up next, it's Bettor's Last Stand. Don't go anywhere.
Bettor's Last Stand is for entertainment purposes only, but who better to listen to than the guys here at the Pine Room? For more picks you might have missed, follow Bettor's Last Stand and all of Matt's picks on X, formerly Twitter, at BLS_PRP. Because just like General Custer, we're in Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, greetings. Welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 114, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studio, downtown Wheeling, here on a chilly winter's day, coming out of the winter break. Good to be back with everybody. Hopefully you had a safe and happy and merry Christmas and New Year's. I know we had some good festivities. We had a nice party down here at the Watchdog Network, had some family gatherings and some other things going on during the holiday season, but it's kind of good to be back in a routine, and it's good to be back with you here for our 114th installment of Bettor's Last Stand here on the Watchdog, here on a Friday evening, taking you into another weekend, a weekend full of playoff action. You got a college football game tonight. You had one last night, and you got excuse me, the cough's still lingering a little bit. You got pro games set to tomorrow. You got 2 tomorrow. You got 3 on Sunday, and you got 1 on Monday. So lots of NFL action, lots of college football action. Well, not really lots, but one more game. It's a big game nonetheless, and we're going to talk about that stuff right here on Bettor's Last Stand. All right, let's go through some things here. We recapped this in the first segment. We're going to talk about it here briefly again. Over the last few weeks since we last did our show a couple days before Christmas, we're up 50 units, 50.20 units to be exact. We were 22 and 22 in our bowl game selections. Not good enough, but our 10-star bowl game of the year that we gave out on the show weeks and weeks and weeks ago, right when the bowl schedule came out, it was Miami and Iowa State over 55.5. That thing got bet up to 61. It didn't matter where you had it at. The game was a cigar smoker. It was over for most numbers at halftime in a really, really, really high-scoring affair. So cash like a 10-star should. Miami and Iowa State, our bowl game of the year here on Bettor's Last Stand. Our 10-star bowl game of the year goes in the win column. So we're happy about that. We've been on a great run in NFL as over the last 3 weeks as well. 31 and 17, 65% since our last show. These plays can all be found at BLS_PRP. Remember that. So if we don't have a show or we or have time-sensitive matters that aren't going to make it into the show, we always post those plays there. So check those out on Twitter or X. College Hoops 13 and 16 over the last few weeks. Not very good there, but we're just getting warmed up with that. Just getting into conference play right now, starting to utilize some of the tools in the toolbox from the handicapping standpoint. EPL, English Premier League Soccer, we're red hot there as well. 32, 16, and 1, 64%. To up 28 units. We have some very nice plus price winners over the last few weeks in Premier League Soccer. And then our NFL futures. I do have to pat myself on the back slightly for this. I don't know how this happened, but we were 18 and 5 on our NFL futures this year. That is exceptional, 78%. I don't think you'll find many people that are going to give you out 20 plus games or 20 plus future bets on the NFL and cash 18 of them, 78%. I was staggered how well we did there, and a lot of them are pretty easy, I will say. So we had a good pulse on the NFL. We finished the season on a 7-1 run in our future plays. Bad beats from a few weeks, or scattered out across the few weeks at least. Georgia bettors in the Sugar Bowl. I thought that was a tough game all the way around, from officiating to some of the bad breaks that they had there. So if you had Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, condolences. That was just one of those games to me. I know other people would disagree with this, but and I was on Georgia, full transparency. I was on them. I was wrong, and it didn't turn out well. But I think if you play that game over again, if you play that game 10 times, I still think Georgia probably wins 7 of them. I thought just some key problems in a key stretch, 17 points in a minute. It's hard to overcome that with a brand new quarterback. I don't know. Just a disappointing one there if you were on the Georgia side there. Multiple NFL games where the dog has forced OT in the last few weeks. You had this with the Bengal game. You had this with there was another primetime game that had the same outcome. I'm drawing a blank, but you had the Bengal Bronco game from a couple of Saturdays ago. You had a situation where you got the Broncos plus 3.5. You're getting it to OT. You're thinking, oh man, this is gonna. I got a really good shot of cashes. Oh no, walk-off touchdown. You had a couple of these happening in the last few weeks, so bad beats there all around. You get the dog in OT. You never want the dog in OT. It never seems to work. So even though you're catching a field goal or a little bit more, wasn't enough. Touchdowns end your bet. So tough stuff. And then Thursday and Friday college playoff games. I got to question why they're doing this. I get it on New Year's. That's New Year's Day. People are off. New Year's Eve. Okay, yeah, people were out and about, and they're going to be up, and they're not going to have to work the next day. But the Thursday and Friday, I know they don't want to go against the NFL, but there had to be a better way of doing this. I would say there had to be. You have a time slot early on Saturday that you could have definitely had one of these games in, and I think you probably should have explored that, or you probably should have communicated with the NFL to kind of make sure that both of your games, your sets of games, would get top billing. Now, the NFL probably wouldn't even care because they think they're the kings of the world. But sticking these on Thursday and Fridays and starting them so late is maybe the Friday night one I can get, or maybe play them both Friday. Maybe I think probably one Friday night and then the other one on Saturday at noon. It would have beat the NFL game. I think that might have been what you wanted to do, but I don't make the rules. I'm not wild about this 12-team playoff at all. I think it's been nothing short of a disaster. It was supposed to be billed as something a lot better than this. It just hasn't lived up to its potential by any means. We're going to talk about those semifinal games here momentarily. 2024 saw the highest percentage of favorites to ever cash in a single season in the NFL. Many books saw multiple weeks of losing, and that doesn't happen very often. FanDuel reported losses of upwards of $370 million in the NFL with all these favorites cashing. Favorites go 192-75 straight up. And you may say, well, straight up, that doesn't matter. It's about the spread. You'd be stunned how many people play money line parlays. It's a pandemic, so to speak. That's what people have. In the sportsbook industry, if we can get one big favorite to go down straight up each and every week, it busts them all up, and it's a huge week for us. But if that doesn't happen, it's the other way around. It's a bloodbath. So 192-75 straight up, 71% for the favorites this year in the NFL straight up. That's alarming for sure. 140-120-7 ATS, so 54%. So we got a fighting shot there. But people don't want to take the chances. They don't want the point spread, which is the ultimate equalizer. They don't want to play that. They want the safe stuff. So, we're going to go with all these money lines. Bills minus 12, Baltimore minus 18, Philadelphia minus 9.5. Like, that's what they want. They want easy things. That's life, I guess. But yeah, tough year for the books. I guess we can't cry too much. People say, shut up. You already make enough money. Overs 144 and 124, 54% in the NFL on the season. The incentive props were huge last week. You had a lot of books, taking them down at some point. The numbers started to get outrageous. Mike Evans, he's just one that comes to mind with his receptions and his yards, just priced to the moon. If you play those, you were probably a sucker. But people played them, and there were some incentive parlays that paid some massive amounts. So you see these player prop parlays and things like that coming to the top of the line. They're starting to get played as much as some of the sides, which is just crazy. You never would have thought that years back, but that is the case. Cam Moore now the favorite to go number one to the Tennessee Titans in the NFL draft at -135. I'm a Miami fan. Everybody knows that. I thought Cam Ward coming out in the second half of that bowl game was pathetic, and to me, that does not shed a good light on him, nor does it shine a good light on the Miami football program. It tells you that they're about individual accolades more so than they are about winning, which is a serious problem. Cam Ward's an okay player. He might be a decent NFL quarterback. I would never take him number one. He had some issues at Washington State. I don't know. Very good player. Not sure he's going to be great, and I would not risk it at the number one overall pick. But the Titans had Will Levis, so to them, Cam Ward may be an upgrade regardless. A bettor at DraftKings wagered $30,000 on the Bills at 12-1 to win the Super Bowl. Would pay out $360K. So you're starting to see some of these big future bets coming in on the Super Bowl so far. Worst NFL ATS teams. Let's recap these. The Titans. We talked about them several times here. 2-15. Cleveland 4-13. Giants. The New York Football Giants 5-12. San Francisco 5-12. Atlanta 6-10-1. Seattle 6-10-1. And the New York Jets 6-11. What do all those teams have in common? Oh, none of them made the playoffs. How about that? So I guess it does go hand in hand. You're bad against the spread, and sometimes you're bad all the time. Actually, I guess you are bad all the time, and you're not going to make the playoffs. Best teams against the spread. On the other side of these are playoff teams. Denver 12-5, Chargers 12-5, Minnesota 11-5-1, the Detroit Lions 12-5, Arizona not a playoff team 11-6, Philadelphia 11-6, and the Steelers limping in at 11-6. But they did get the cover. If you had the 2.5 against Cincinnati on Saturday, they did cover that one. Updated Super Bowl futures right now. Kansas City and Detroit both around 3-1. These prices vary, so shop around if you're looking for it. Buffalo and Baltimore 6-1. Philly at 7-1 range. Minnesota at 20. Green Bay and Tampa 25-30 range. 30-1 for the Rams. 40-1 for the Chargers. Washington around 60, and Houston, Denver, and Pittsburgh all coming in around 80-1. For Super Bowl odds so far. I'm going to give you a couple of Super Bowl exactas that may be worth a play here when we talk NFL in the final portion of the program. But let me again thank you for tuning in to Bettor's Last Stand, show number 114 here on the Watchdog Network, getting you ready for a weekend full of action here in the Ohio Valley and across the country and the world, actually. We're going to start with the world of soccer. We have been red hot in our Premier League soccer plays, I will say. It's been a really, really good run. 32-16-1 since the week, a couple days before Christmas when we did our last show. The EPL is back in action on the 14th of January, so we have cup matches going on right now. We have the EFL Cup, European Football Federation Cup. That's going on right now. The Carabao Cup, as they call it. You would see that listed that way on the some of the sports books. You have some matches going on there today and tomorrow. Then you have FA Cup matches going on Saturday and Sunday. So FA Cup, you have all these different clubs all across the divisions of English football, from the very lowest tier to the top tier, which is the Premier League. You have teams drawn and facing off against each other. So that will be taking the spot of the EPL this week, but then we get back in action on Tuesday. So it's a little bit tough to forecast these because as right now you got Tottenham and Liverpool playing an EFL Cup match right now. It's scoreless in the 65th minute. So you don't know what kind of teams are going to be out there for these for the clubs, who's going to take it serious, who isn't. Some of these squads, this is their only chance of winning anything this year. Some teams that are buried in the middle of the table or things like that are not able to compete in European football as far as like Champions League and Europa go. So they have no other option. They got to sell all out to try to win these cups, bring a little silverware home to their fans, and you'll see them maxing out. Other clubs not taking it serious. It looked like Arsenal was one of those yesterday, so we'll see what happens. But to give you a small forecast of the Premier League matches that are coming up on Tuesday of next week, we got a matchup between Brentford and Manchester City. And Brentford comes in plus 350, City minus 160. Now, City has played a little bit better. We were on them last week against West Ham, I believe they played, and they hammered them pretty good. West Ham's been terrible lately. So City, I'm not certain they're back in form yet. So I'm going to take a shot with Brentford here at the plus 350. I think draw no bet's worth a look at plus 250. This game at Brentford in London. Both teams to score, probably a pretty good bet, I would say. And I thought over 3 or over 2.5 both makes some sense here. I think both teams will score in this game. I think there'll be some goals, but I can see Brentford winning this game 2-1, 3-1, something along that, 3-2. Brentford at home. They've been pretty good too, so we'll take a shot with them. I'll post these officially on BLS_PRP once I see what goes on the weekend with the cup matches. Some of these teams don't have them, so it gives them a distinct advantage in those matches. Chelsea minus 155 as they host Bournemouth, who's plus 360. Chelsea does have a FA Cup match this weekend. Bournemouth does not have one. So this is a big advantage for Bournemouth, who's already playing pretty good football right now. This team's been very surprising to me. I had them as being a team that could possibly be relegated. They've played outstanding football. At plus 360 for Bournemouth, or a draw no bet at Stamford Bridge, plus 255. I think it's worth a look. Both teams to score and over 2.5. Also, maybe a look. Now, they haven't won at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge since 2019, so that could be a tad bit of a concern. But Chelsea's coming off a cup match. I'm not certain what kind of lineup they're going to put out there. They may have nobody playing in the cup match, and they may be going in for this Bournemouth match. I don't know. That's another thing you're trying to figure out, the strategy of these managers. Chelsea has to navigate European football, EPL football, and then these domestic cup leagues. So it's really tricky to figure out. I do like the over 2.5 in that match on Tuesday. West Ham and Fulham. Fulham plus 135, the favorite there at West Ham. West Ham plus 185 in a London derby here. Both teams have FA Cup matches. Fulham's form's been exceptional. Right along with Bournemouth, they were a team I did not expect to do this well. West Ham has been abysmal lately. So I like under the 3 in this match. West Ham's really struggled to score, and I would lean Fulham at plus 135. That's a little low for me. We'll see what happens after the cup matches if that drifts up a tad. So lean towards Fulham under the 3 in West Ham and Fulham. Another Tuesday match. Forest and Liverpool. Forest hosting Liverpool. No FA Cup match for Forest, so they're going to be sitting in waiting for Liverpool, who's playing a EFL Cup match today on a Wednesday. They have a FA Cup match on Saturday, and then they come right back, on Friday, and then they come right back and have to play on Tuesday in the Premier League. So that's a lot of football for Liverpool. So we'll see how they come out of it. Small lean to Forest. I think both teams score, and I think Forest at least scores a goal. You can get decent prices on all of those. Wednesday's matches, this is a little bit too far out for me. You've got Everton and Aston Villa, Leicester hosting Palace, Newcastle hosting Wolves. I will say Newcastle's been playing exceptional football. They pounded Arsenal the other day, and then Arsenal back home to host Spurs in a London derby. There'll be bad blood there, perhaps some cards over. These teams will have played a lot of football, and they could be very testy. So Everton, Villa, Leicester, Palace, Newcastle, Wolves, Arsenal, and Spurs all have FA Cup matches this weekend. So we'll see how they come out of those. I'll post these plays again at BLS_PRP. Champions League not back in action until January the 14th. So we'll get, they aren't back in action until January 21st. EPL's back 14th. A week later, we get back into Champions League football. And then that kind of makes me feel like, okay, we're back to regular working weeks and days, and everything's kind of meshing together on the calendar. So we look forward to those. Looking forward to the Champions League returning for sure. But we got some EPL. We got some cup matches, the FA Cup. If I have some FA Cup plays, I may look into a few FA Cup plays, some teams that are interested in trying to win these games, and some other ones who may have their eye on another prize. I'll post those as well at BLS_PRP. And again, if you're not a soccer bettor, or you're somebody that maybe likes soccer but you haven't started to bet it, we've been on a really good run here. And again, I'm not trying to tell you. I'll tell you as many times as you'll hear me that we don't just talk about our winners. We talk about our losers just as much. So 32-19 run though in the EPL. We're or 32-16 run. So we're very happy with that, and we are hopeful to continue that on for you here in the coming days. Favorites in the college football playoff as we shift gears over to college football here. on the Watchdog Radio Network. It's Bettor's Last Stand show number 114, coming to you from the Watchdog studio downtown Wheeling here on a chilly winter's evening, getting you ready for your weekend. Favorites 8-0 straight up in these college football playoff games. I said it a long time ago. I thought 12 teams was too many, and we only really needed 5 or 6 teams. Everybody else just was kind of a pretender. Arizona State, they gave a great, valiant effort. They were the only team that covered, so we're 7-1. The favorites are ATS, 8-0 overall, with Texas being the only favorite who did not cover their number against Arizona State. We did have Arizona State in that game, so we were happy about that. We also have a professionals versus the public type bet shaping up here this weekend, pros versus Joes, so to speak. The scenario is that Ohio State and Texas are very split. You got Texas, the side of the Sharps, and way you can tell that is you're seeing a lot of tickets written on Ohio State. People are telling me Ohio State's invincible. Oh, they're back. They can't be beat. Now that they figured out the offense, they can't be beat. They can't be beat. Well, the number's really not changing a whole lot. So you would think that the number would be going up if Ohio State keeps getting bet. Well, it actually went down a half point from 6.5 to 6. So what that tells you is that there's the respected money is on Texas, which brought that down to 6. So you got the public all over Ohio State. You have the sharp money on Texas. We'll see what happens there as it now is level at around 6. I think it's pretty much 6 across the board with a total of 53. The money line in the Purdue made the playoffs. The money line in the Notre Dame Penn State game is getting more play than the actual side right now. Notre Dame minus 1.5 teams. Bettors are just playing the money line. So you're playing Notre Dame minus 120 just to win the game straight up. You're playing Penn State, even money. So you're getting a plus price on Penn State to win the game. Not a whole lot of action yet in the point spread pools there, which makes sense. In a game that tight, you kind of figure whoever covers that's going to win the game. So we'll see what happens. Going to talk about those games here momentarily. Look ahead lines. Should Ohio State and Notre Dame win, it would be Ohio State minus 6.5. Should Ohio State and Penn State win, it would be Ohio State minus 7. Should Texas and Notre Dame win, it will be Texas minus 2.5. And should Texas and Penn State win, it will be Texas minus 3 over Penn State. Coach and I kind of thought Texas and Ohio State would be favored regardless of who wins the other game. Whoever wins those games, Texas and Ohio State are going to be favored against anybody. Whoever wins that game is going to be favored in the final. And let's talk about these semifinal matchups right now. I think this thing's really underwhelmed with the 12 teams. I told you a long time ago that when we got 3 of the best teams here right now. Texas, Ohio State, and Penn State. They were definitely 3 of the top 6 teams all season long. I would have had Georgia in there instead of Notre Dame. I'm still not even certain Notre Dame was even worthy of being in this playoff. Now, I know that sounds, people will say, what the hell are you talking about? Notre Dame, they've won 2 playoff games. They're unstoppable. Well, they beat a really, really bad Indiana team, and they beat a mistake-prone and penalty-riddled and probably, for lack of a better term, I guess the team that had the wrong side of the officiating in a game. And I do find it funny that Notre Dame fans will think that they had the worst of the calls in that game. And to be an objective person, I have no skin in the game. Now, I did have a bet on Georgia, no doubt about it, but I'm not a Georgia fan, and I'm not a Notre Dame fan. From a neutral bystander point of view, there was no question about it that Georgia got the worst of the officiating, and it started on the very first drive. Did that make an impact of the game? I don't know. It sure seemed like it did to me. But I'm a very, very dubious of Notre Dame as they come in a 1.5-point favorite to total 45 here at the College Football Playoff Semifinal at the Orange Bowl at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. This game on Thursday night. It was last night, actually, if you are listening to this on Friday, which you would be here on the Watchdog Network. I don't know what's going to happen in this game or what happened last night. You can yell at the radio right now, but I think Penn State's got a fighting shot in this game. I bet Penn State, so I'll take a shot with them. Not certain how good Notre Dame's offense ever was, and they didn't really look that good last week. So anyway, we were on the Nittany Lions last night. We'll see how it turned out today. You can, you can make fun of me, because I'm wrong a lot of the time. That is for sure. But let's concentrate on tonight's game. A lot of listeners interested in this one. Ohio State and Texas at the Cotton Bowl College Football Playoff Semifinal at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Could be some winter weather in the area, but it won't affect this game inside at least, maybe with the people getting there. It's Ohio State minus 6, the total 53 in this game. I like the dog here too, and I'm not saying that Ohio State right now, if you put up their past 2 performances against and Spurs scores to take the lead against Liverpool, that's interesting. But back to it, Ohio State, they are playing the best of anybody, but you have to say, okay, Oregon, they didn't play for a while. Oregon was horrendous in that game. Tennessee, not very good. Was it all Ohio State, or was it a little bit of the other teams just not performing well? Not certain about it. I think Texas has a defense that could give could give Ohio State some problems. And I know everybody's saying their offense is invincible. Well, maybe it will be. If Ohio State has their A game, that go offside, so it won't count. But if Ohio State has their A game, they're probably going to win this game by 10. But I'm thinking that Texas's defense is good enough to keep them in this. And if they can make any plays on offense, now Texas should have lost. Arizona State should have beat them 100%. Texas played a terrible, terrible game. But Texas has a defensive line that can give Ohio State a little bit of an issue. And they have one of the better secondaries in the country, if not the best. So you have to say they have a fighting chance. Will they win this game? I don't know. Are they likely to win it? Probably not. But I would not say that Texas doesn't have a chance in this game. We shall see. I've been dubious of Texas all year. I was against them last time. But I do think in the matchup, I think their defense will match up okay against Ohio State here. So can we see a score fest? A lot of people are telling me points in this game. Now for Texas, I would expect them to try to want to keep this game lower scoring. I think that's in their best interest. So lean to the under there for me, but I'll take the 6 points and the Longhorns in this one. College Football Playoff Futures, we have an outstanding ticket with Penn State. You can still get Penn State at plus 450, the Longhorns plus 375, Ohio State down to plus 110 now, and Notre Dame at plus 360. Still a little value on the Nittany Lions, I feel like. If Penn State were to beat Notre Dame, or if they beat them last night, I guess you would know the answer to this. They'll have a shot against Texas, and then they played Ohio State enough times. It's bound to maybe one time that maybe Franklin would do something correct, maybe just once, and have a shot in the game. So I wouldn't completely dismiss them. But everything else to me, pretty much unbettable there, unless you like Texas at plus 375, maybe can make a small case for them. College Football Playoff winding down, thank goodness, because to me, again, it's been very, very underwhelming, and I don't think we really needed 12 teams to decide who the best teams were. As we roll along here, Bettor's Last Stand, show number 114 from the Watchdog Studios, downtown Wheeling, getting you ready for a good weekend of action. WVU basketball, you can find that right here on the Watchdog Network. They've been playing pretty well, though they did get beat the other night by Arizona. But WVU, I think they're going to be a formidable team in the Big 12 and should win a lot of games. Very impressed with the coaching job so far. And the women's team playing very well as well. You can hear those games as well right here on the Watchdog Network. Cleveland Browns season comes to an end. This was your home for Cleveland Browns football. We thank our good friend Kelsey Russo, Browns staff reporter, for joining us each and every week talking Browns football. She'll be back to talk about the Browns and what they're going to do in the upcoming NFL draft here in April. So we'll have Kelsey back on the show if you're a Browns fan or if it's an NFL fan, period. Maybe we'll try to get Mike Florio back as well to talk about the draft and see what he is thinking. But before that happens, we got to finish this year's installment of the NFL playoffs. Oh boy, can't wait for this to be over. Can't come soon enough for me. I'm really, really footballed out, and this stretch of games has just not been very good to me. So good thing it's hockey season and soccer's year round pretty much, because at least that keeps me excited until we could get Australian rules football back in the equation in the spring. All right, Saturday, here we go. It is January 11th. That is tomorrow. It's the Chargers and the Texans. The Texans in their favorite spot, the 4:30 game on Saturday afternoon. They'll be catching 3 at home from Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. The total 42.5 in this game. Now, Houston played pretty decent last week when they had their starters in there. They wanted to get some, get their sharpness back after that Christmas Day debacle. But I was still a little concerned about this team, and we were concerned about them from the beginning of the season. And it's nothing against them. I think D'Amico Ryans is a really good coach. I think this team has a lot of good players. I think C.J. Stroud's a very good quarterback. I think they got a bright future, but whenever you were able to sneak up on people last year, you're not going to be able to do that anymore, and you weren't able to do that this year. So teams were a little bit more aware when Houston was on the schedule. Houston, a tough team. They had a lot of injuries too, which did not help them. So not their best season. They win that division easily, hands down the best team in that division. We were way wrong on Jacksonville. They were a disappointment this year. But I think the Chargers, who haven't played a playoff game since that debacle with the Brandon Staley, the giant lead they blew to Jacksonville, it's just one of the worst defeats you'll ever see. And I sympathize for this Chargers fan base. That was awful. My grandfather was a big Chargers fan, and I know he was rolling over in his grave during that one, and he was not happy. So I would love to see the Chargers make a run here at some point. I think they're maybe a year early, but I like them in this game. I think if you can get 3 or less on the road here, Jim Harbaugh, very experienced guy. He's going to have this team ready to go. I think they'll perform very strong in this game, but I do like the game under too. I think points will be tough to come by here. Houston's defense has been pretty good. The Chargers defense very good as well. I think possessions teams, both these coaches are going to play this very tight, I would say. So under 42.5, a very good play on that one for me, and I lean the Chargers minus 2.5 or 3. Steelers at Ravens, the nightcap on Saturday. Ravens minus 10, the total 44. Ravens 2-5 with Lamar Jackson as quarterback in the playoffs. Not good enough. Every year I hear he's learned from his mistakes. Well, he hasn't. I mean, he turned the ball over at critical times so many times this year. And not that we're going to have a big discussion about the MVP here, and I watch every Ravens game being a person who likes the Ravens, whether I watch it live or in tape delayed and rewatch it. Lamar Jackson, exceptional talent. That cannot be disputed. Does he have incredible natural gifts that a lot of players don't have, or players maybe short of Michael Vick have never had? The ability to elude pressure, to make plays with his feet, and still have arm strength and things like that. But he lacks the mental game to be able to get over the hump. At least to this point he has. If he proves me wrong, I'll be very happy about that. But he hasn't done it to this point. Key red zone turnovers are a problem all the time with this guy. I cannot in good faith recommend anybody to bet the Ravens minus 10 in a playoff game against their rival Steelers, who have had their number. I know they just beat the Steelers a few weeks ago. Steelers were heading in a spiral. Are the Steelers really going to lose 5 in a row to end the season? I hope so. But that would worry me a little bit. It does worry me. I would take the Steelers plus the 10 here. I'm not giving that as an official play, but I do like the under in this game. Early in the season, I tried to tell you that Baltimore was an over team. They were. They were playing like an over team. They had a great offense and a terrible defense. Well, they've made some switches here. They moved Kyle Hamilton back to playing basically center field as a safety right now instead of having him in the slot so much. They acquire Tre'Davious White, and they've had great play out of Marlon Humphrey. So their secondary is rounded into form. Are they a great defense? No. But are they an opportunistic defense now? Yes, they are. So they can slow people down a little bit. And I think that will kind of be the kind of game you're going to see here. 44 the total. I'm going to go under. I would not bet the Ravens minus the points here, folks. That would be a serious concern to me. Lamar Jackson is liable to turn the ball over in the red zone here again. He could drive the ball between the 20s, but something about Pittsburgh, they can cause him problems sometimes. I know he beat him the last time in Baltimore, but this game means everything, and I'm not confident he'll get the job done. I'm hopeful, but I'm not confident at all. All right, let's talk about Sunday's games. We've got a couple of rookie quarterbacks in action. And let me tell you this stat right now. Rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs, 14 and 27 all time. That is not good. In the last 10 years, they're 3-9 straight up. And in the last 10 years on the road, they are 0-9. And we have 2 of them on the road today, or Sunday, in a couple of days. It will be Washington at Tampa with Jaden Daniels, who's had a great year. And then you have Bo Nix on the road at Buffalo. Now, I'm a critic of Bo Nix. Do I think he's been a little bit better than I expected? Yes. I expected him to be as bad as his very worst all the time, if that makes sense to you. Like, he's shown he's very bad at times. Well, I expected that to be all the time. He has shown some signs of making some plays. Do I think he's good? No. If you go and look at the stats, go dig down deep in the quarterback statistics, you will see he ranks very, very low in a lot of things. He's not very good. I don't like his coach. I think this is an absolute burial at 1 o'clock on Sunday. I think that the Buffalo Bills absolutely massacre Denver, -9. The total 47. I lean to the over there, but I'm only going to give a play out on the Bills. I don't like to lay this kind of number, but the Bills are 8-0 at home this year. They bury people at home. And Josh Allen will be out for blood here before they potentially host the Ravens next week. So I'm on the Bills minus the 9, the middle game on on Sunday. 4:30 kick. It's Green Bay at Philadelphia. Philadelphia minus 4.5. The total 45.5. I don't know about Jalen Hurts. No one has given the ruling on him yet, whether he'll be back or not. You got Kenny Pickett hurt. You had this McKee guy playing. Excuse me. The Eagles still performed well last week. Man, I don't trust the Packers at all. They are 10-1 though. Their only loss against an out-of-division team was the loss to the Eagles earlier this season. So the Packers have been pretty good against the spread against these teams in the North Division. But outside of that, they've been not as good, I would say. But I'm sorry, I read that the wrong way. They're 10-1 outside of the North. So the North has been where they've had problems. It's outside, which, yeah, that makes sense. The more I thought about that, yeah. So the only game that they lost outside of the division this year was the game to the Eagles. I think it was the first game of the year in Brazil. So I like the under in this game, the 45.5. But I don't know about Jalen Hurts, so I guess we got to wait on that. It was 34-29, the final back when they met in Brazil in the first, I think, Friday of the regular season. Probably think Philly gets the job done here. I'm not a Packer guy. I thought they were a cut below Detroit, even a cut below Minnesota, and definitely a cut below the Eagles all season long. So not into Green Bay. Their defense maybe keeps them in the game, but Jordan Love, I'm not buying into him. Christian Watts is out for the year. But I think Philly does enough just to get the job done there against Green Bay if Hurts plays. If Hurts doesn't play, then we got a coin flip there that maybe the Packers could capitalize on a Kenny Pickett mistake if he's able to play and be able to win that game. So we will see what happens. And then the nightcap, Washington at Tampa. Tampa minus 3, the total 50.5. I do think there'll be points in this game, but I think that it's going to be tough for a rookie quarterback to win this game. If it was going to be a team who's a dog winning outright, if it's not the Steelers, I would say pretty decent shot that it could be the Commanders. I think this will be a good game, though. Washington and Tampa, they played earlier this year. It was Tampa 37-20, but that was early in the season. So I like points here. I think there will be some points. Tough for the rookie quarterbacks to win, so we'll take I'm going to pass on the side, though. I would lean Washington in the game plus the 3, but we're going to go over 50.5. Also, going back to the Buffalo game, which is the early game on Sunday, Buffalo first half minus 6 to me seems like an absolute steal. I think Buffalo will be up at least 2 scores at halftime. And I mean 2 full scores. I don't mean just like 9 points. I'm meaning like 14 or more at halftime against Denver. I think Denver is in big, big, big trouble on Sunday afternoon. And then Monday Night Football, the Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Rams. Minnesota minus 1 on the road. The total 47.5. Sam Darnold's first playoff start. He was in a de facto playoff game last week for the number 1 seed in the NFC. It did not go well for him. He's had a great year. He's overachieved probably. Good coaching. Got a lot out of this Vikings team. They got some good playmakers on offense. But I think this is a tough spot for them off of a very tough loss. Teams that come out of games against the Lions have really struggled the next week. So I think the beat-up Vikings could be in trouble here against the Rams. I'm taking the Rams. I think they win this game at home. I like Stafford and the experience of the Rams in the playoffs. I think they win this game. And I like the game under 47.5. I think this will be a little bit lower scoring. I think the Rams will be opportunistic on defense. And Stafford's a very good game manager. He's not going to want to get into an up-and-down shootout in this game. He knows his strengths and weaknesses of his team, which I can't say the same for a lot of the quarterbacks in this league, but he's very good at that. He'll measure his opponent pretty well and know exactly what he needs to do. If he's going to hand the ball off 60 times, he'll do it. If he's got to throw the ball 55 times, he'll do it. And that's Matt Stafford's really grown into a very good quarterback. He was not like that in Detroit, but he has turned into that here in Los Angeles. So we're going to go with the Rams and the under in Monday Night Football. From a futures perspective, I thought not a whole lot of intrigue here as I went through the teams that are favored right now. The Lions right around 3-1 plus 290-ish range. And you look at Kansas City also around 3-1. It's hard for me to get by the Lions in the Chiefs. I think that the setup for the Chiefs is very good. You're going to have a bye week, then you're going to get to play probably the Chargers if you're gonna guess, probably the Chargers, but I don't know. Maybe the Steelers have something to say about that. But if the seeds hold, at least the top 3, you'll see Baltimore going to Buffalo, which I think is a very good matchup for the Ravens, who played Buffalo very, very well in recent years. And Buffalo doesn't have a defense that can stop the Ravens, and the Ravens don't really have to worry about stopping the Buffalo offense because the Buffalo defense can't stop them. So I think it sets up pretty good for the Ravens to win at Buffalo. I know it's not an easy place to play, but the Ravens are a team that have won on the road before and won playoff games. They beat Tom Brady and Belichick on the road before, so they can definitely beat Buffalo. So I think that sets up pretty well. And then I would say the Chiefs have a distinct advantage against the Ravens just from the mindset of the quarterback. And just going back to last year's game, the Ravens just fell apart. Now, if they would use Derrick Henry and run him 25 times, then we could change things. But they're not going to do that. We saw it in the game on Saturday of this past week against the Browns. Derrick Henry barely touches the ball in the first half, which is just mind-blowing to me. But if they continue to make those blunders calling plays, it's going to be another bad exit for the Ravens. But I think back to my point is the Chiefs have a pretty good road here. They got either Houston or the Chargers at home at Arrowhead. That's going to be hard for either one of those teams to beat them. And then they're going to get a team, either Buffalo or Baltimore, most likely Baltimore, if it sets up and Baltimore can beat Pittsburgh. Because if you're a Baltimore fan, you got to be more worried about this week's game than you are against Buffalo. That game against Buffalo, I really feel the Ravens will be maybe not on paper a favorite. They probably won't be, but in my mind, as far as watching the teams play this year and knowing how they match up, it's a very good matchup for Baltimore. But Kansas City would have then a team that's beaten and battered, playing 2 games and playing against another really heavyweight opponent in the AFC coming to their place. I don't think I think the Chiefs are in a great spot here to get out of the AFC. I know people are sick of hearing it, but plus 145, I don't want to recommend that. But I will say Super Bowl exactas are in play. The Chiefs and the Lions at plus 425. To me, that's the most likely scenario, and it's been the most likely scenario for most of the season. Do I think the Eagles are good? I think they have a lot of good pieces. They have probably the best roster in the entire league. Internally, they concern me. Coaching-wise, they concern me. The slightest little issue for the Eagles, and they can come unraveled. That would worry me. The Lions are going to band together. They're not going to come unraveled. That's one thing the Lions are not going to do. Now, they're going to get beaten up. They've already lost a ton of players. If they had their full roster right now, they're almost an even money favorite to win the Super Bowl. But they don't have that, so they're going to have to depend on their offense. They got to stay healthy as they can at this point. It's going to be tough because getting stops on defense is going to be a problem for them. But I still find them to have a distinct advantage over most of the teams in the NFC. Green Bay to me is no threat. Minnesota, we've seen they're not going to be able to beat the Lions. The Rams to me pose the only threat in the NFC. I'm not a Packer guy. Washington is too early. Tampa, not good enough on defense. So I eliminate those teams immediately. Green Bay is way out. Minnesota out. The Rams are the team that could play spoiler here. I think the Rams, in the right circumstance, could give anybody in the NFC a problem because they got Stafford and they got McVay. Those guys have been there. They got some good players on offense and they got some very good, young, talented players on defense. I'm not saying it's likely that the Rams make a run here, but if anybody in the NFC outside of the Lions or the Eagles are to make it to the NFC Championship game, to me it's the Rams. They have the experience at quarterback. They've been there before. They can make enough plays to be able to beat you, and they can shorten the game because they can run the ball and they can pass the ball, and they can make opportunistic stops on defense. So I give the Rams a shot. So I thought a couple of Super Bowl exactas that maybe are worth a shot here. Kansas City and the Rams at 45-1. That means those two teams make it to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter who wins it. And then obviously Kansas City, Detroit at plus 425. That one not nearly as good a price. And then I thought, just for argument's sake, if somehow, some way, the Ravens were able to beat the Chiefs and they could make it out of there, Ravens and Lions a 7-1 bet, and the Ravens and the Rams. Several weeks ago, that would be 70-1, so great price on that one. Several weeks ago, probably before the Ravens made their some of their adjustments in their bye week, and a little bit before that, I'd have told you there's no chance this team can make it out. I still don't think they will. I have zero confidence. But they're talented enough to do it. If Lamar Jackson doesn't make mistakes, the defense has now been turned into being, I'm not saying it's good, but it's sustainable. They can make a couple stops here and there, and that's all you need with an offense like that. But I don't have a whole lot of confidence in it. I thought maybe if everything broke correctly and they decided to run Derrick Henry 30 times and have Lamar pass it like 15 to 20 times instead of 35, they would have a shot. So maybe, I don't know. But most likely scenario, the Chiefs and the Lions. I know that's chalky. It's boring. Plus 425 in the Super Bowl exacta. And then Kansas City and the Rams, I thought maybe at 45-1 there. But it's hard for me to get anywhere with any of these other teams. I just don't see anybody coming out of the AFC other than Chiefs, possibly the Ravens or the Bills. That's the only three teams that could come out of there, I would say. And then in the NFC, to me, it's the Lions all the way, possibly the Eagles, but Detroit going to be very, very tough to beat. But we'll see how it all unfolds. Starts off this weekend, tomorrow. NFL playoffs all weekend long. We hope you enjoy those. Thanks again for joining us here on Bettor's Last Stand. Enjoy the college football playoff game tonight. We'll have the college football finals set for next week. We'll talk about that and more. We'll start getting into some baseball and a little bit more college basketball. Don't forget, BLS_PRP is where you want to be for all the picks all weekend long and all the times where we're not able to get in on the show. We put them up there and everything that's time sensitive. You can follow us there on that. Go by the old Twitter or the X and check us out and see what we got going. We've been red hot again. We're up over 50 units again. I hate to keep harping on it, but it's been a very positive run for us, NFL-wise, EPL-wise, and overall for us here at Bettor's Last Stand. Don't forget about the Brownie House. Get on over to yesbrownies.com today. Promo code PINEROOM for 20% off your order. Have yourself a safe and wonderful weekend here. Stay warm. Could be some more snow in the forecast here in the Ohio Valley. It's a little messy out there right now. And remember, the Watchdog, you're home for high school basketball action. We have a full schedule of high school basketball games. It's a little bit tricky, though, with all the snow rearrangements. We had the Central and Lindsley game get rearranged earlier this week, so we'll keep you apprised of those. Tune in on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday to our Pine Room Watchdog show here on the Watchdog Network. Don't want to miss that, and our regular 12 to 3 slots on Tuesday and Friday now that Football Fridays are over. And then we do just an hour on Monday to kind of recap the weekend from 2 to 3. Anyway, Watchdog Network's where you want to be for all your high school basketball action here in the Ohio Valley, as well as Mountaineer basketball, men and women here as we head into the middle of winter here. So again, hopefully you had a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and everything is very good in your lives as you head into another weekend of lots of sports. So best of luck in your wagering here, and thanks for listening to Bettor's Last Stand on the Watchdog Network here on a Friday afternoon. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We will be back on the Watchdog Network on Monday, and another episode of Bettor's Last Stand, show number 115, will come your way next week here on the Watchdog Network. Until then, we'll see you next week, and good luck in your wagers.